in our last internship program conducted by NSS University College of Engineering. I would like to introduce our today's presenter, Mrs. Sutya M, working as project engineer at CEDA. She has an experience of 8 years in her working experience in training in Java Web Technologies and ethical hacking. She completed her Bachelor of Technology in Computer Science and Engineering from University College of Engineering, Karyavattam, 2005. I welcome you, ma'am, for beginning our section on behalf of our college and SSU unit. It's my pleasure to welcome you, ma'am, to deliver this section. Ma'am?
Thank you, Drishya, for your warm welcome. It's my privilege to attend this event which is conducted by my college, that is welcome. Am I audible to all of you? Okay. So, shall we start today's session? Hacking web servers. Okay. So, all of you are using internet, isn't it? All of you are using internet now. So I hope everyone is knowing what is a web server. Okay, uh, so all of you are using internet for different purposes, for say for online classes or for shopping sites, for shopping, online shopping, or for accessing different organizations' website. You are accessing internet, isn't it? So that means you are accessing a server machine, which is providing you the information, isn't it? Web server is providing, web server is a machine which is providing you the information. So here hacking web server, what is a web server? That is what we are going to study. And in web server, we have these different modules, that is web server concepts, the web server attack, the attack methodology, the attack tools, the countermeasures, and the security tools. All these we are going to deal with. Okay. So in internet, we are accessing different websites. That means we are accessing different servers for getting the information, isn't it? For getting the information. And there are different web servers available in the market. They are like Apache Web Server, Microsoft IIS, Google servers, others. See, when you are accessing, say, Google, for different information, for getting different information, you are accessing Google, isn't it? So that means you are accessing a server for getting the information. So what all things are stored in that server? A lot of information will be there, isn't it? Say for example, if you are taking a banking website, in a banking web server, in that server, all the customer information will be stored, their credit card numbers, their email IDs, a lot of information will be there. So a hacker will attempt to hack the server for getting all this information and use that for his some fraudulent activity. Okay, so web server is more prone to attack. So here we are going to discuss how we can prevent that, etc. Okay, is that some noise disturbance? Just a minute. See, can I switch off my video? Now is it clear for all of you? Okay. So there are different web servers available in the market, and hope all of you have heard about Apache Web Server, which is the most commonly used one because it is automatically installed in Linux machines. When you buy the Linux machines, it's automatically installed in Linux machines. So it is more commonly used web server. Most PHP websites, etc., are hosted in Apache Web Server. Then we have Microsoft. From Microsoft, we have IIS, etc. Okay. So web server means it is a program that stores files and which others can access it using through internet, isn't it? So web server is containing a web server means it's a machine that stores files like web pages and it is accessible via internet. So, and these things, this web server is storing valuable information, it is more prone to attack. Okay. So normally the attack happens to the web server due to some reasons. Like first one is improper file and directory permissions. See, in directory we can set permissions. Do you know that? The read, write or modify permissions we can set. Normally, as a user, there will be some permissions. If you want, you can change that permissions. The file and directory permissions, you can restrict it for that somebody cannot modify it, etc. So if that is not properly done, if the hackers attempt to intrude into the system, they can directly see the file, they can modify the files, etc. Okay, so that's one reason why web servers are compromised. Another one is the default settings. Normally, when you install some application, and if they ask for some password or something, normal for some applications there will be some default password, say admin or say root. Normally, you will use the same password for it, but that can be easily guessed by the hackers, isn't it? The attackers can easily guess those default passwords. So that's why another reason why the web servers are compromised. Then for security, what is the first thing we are doing? Antivirus, isn't it? We are installing antivirus software. If it is lacking, the attackers can easily compromise our system. Another thing is the misconfiguration of operating systems. That is, due to some configuration settings, the users can execute commands on the server. If the users are executing commands on the server, means it is more prone to attack. And also the bugs in the operating system. All these may make a web server easily compromised. Okay. Now, if a web server is attacked, what all things happen? What is the impact of the attack? First thing, all of you know that the user accounts are compromised. If a web server is hacked, means all the users' accounts are compromised. Another thing is the website defacement. Have you any doubts? If you have any doubts, just write it in the chat box, okay? So first thing what happens is the user accounts will be compromised. The second one is website defacement. Website defacement means when a hacker has intruded into the server, he can modify the website. He can make modifications in the website so that when the normal users, when the users try to access that website, say maybe that website may be of a particular organization. Okay, that particular organization's website is hacked now. And the attacker has done some modifications in the website. That means some malicious messages may be there in the website. So when the normal users visit that, they will see only that messages. Means they will think that the organization has done that, isn't it? So the organization's reputation will be lost. That is website defacement. They're modifying the website. Then some secondary attacks may also happen from this, which means when the has attacked the server and may have installed some malicious softwares in it. So when the normal users try to access that site, okay, when the normal users try to access that site, that software, some trojans or something, that may be downloaded into the user system, and that system may also get attacked. That is secondary attack. Okay. Then when an attacker has entered into the server, he will get access to all other applications or servers in that, all other applications. Some more than one web applications may be there in a server. Okay. So if the attacker has entry into the server, means he can access other applications also. And data tampering, the data is sealed, isn't it? The user accounts, everything is gone, everything is given to the attacker, and the attacker may use that data for some other fraudulent activities. That means our organization's customer and the hacker is using that details for some fraudulent activities, which means in some cases, the customers may be they may you impersonate like a customer, and in some fraudulent activities the customer may be suited cases, isn't it? So in that way, the different types of attacks may, after attacks, different things may happen on a web server. Okay. If you say about an open source web server, see, if this is an Apache web server in Linux operating system, it contains web applications, it contains database, and this particular web server, who will access this web server? The administrator will access it, the normal website users will access it, and the attackers can also access it through internet, isn't it? So a web server can be accessed by attackers through internet, so it is more prone to attack also. And any attacker can access it through an internet, isn't it? Now we will see what are the different types of attacks which may happen on a web server. First one is DOS attack. What is DOS attack? DOS. Denial of service attack. Denial of service means if this is a web server, the normal users are accessing it through internet. Okay. But there will be a particular bandwidth. That means only this much request can be server. There may be multiple requests coming from different users, but there will be a particular bandwidth that only this much request can be handled at a time. So what the hackers do is they will send a lot of requests to this particular web server which they want to attack. Whichever server they want to attack, they will send a multiple requests from different machines. They will send a lot of requests to the server so that the bandwidth is attained, which means the normal users won't be able to access the site. The normal users, when try to access this site, they won't be getting that site. That is DOS attack, denial of service. The service is denied for the legitimate users. How the attackers are giving multiple requests to the server and the bandwidth is attained so that the other users cannot access the server. That is, pardon? Any problem? Any problem? Okay. So that is denial of service. DDoS means distributed denial of service. See, denial of service means it is they are attacking the machine from one particular machine. From one particular machine, they are giving multiple. Distributed means a lot of machines will be included in that attack. That is DDoS. That is one attack which may happen on the web server. Then you have another attack, that is DNS server hijacking. What is DNS? DNS is domain name system. All of you know that access a server, what you are giving in the URL. If in the URL I am saying, they say www.google.com, that is the domain name of a server, or you can give, say, an IP address you will give like this, isn't it? In this way, you will give an IP address. So that means that is the address of that server. So you can give either as www.google.com in that way or as 4 numbers, isn't it? That is the IP address of a server. You are accessing a server. So DNS means this domain name system server means that's a server which holds all the IP address and its corresponding domain names. That means the 4 numbers, that number and its corresponding domain name. So each domain name, each website, each website will have a domain name and its corresponding IP. That is the 4 numbers. Okay, so that all these IPs and its domain name is stored in this DNS server, domain name system server. So when I just give www.google.com, this DNS server will be checked and its corresponding IP will be taken, and there this request is being going. Okay, so for each domain name there will be a dotted code form, that is this 4 numbers. Okay, so that is stored, all the domain names and IP addresses are stored in this server. Okay, so what this attacker do is that he will hijack the DNS server and he will change the settings. Means for an organization, there will be a domain name and its dotted code form. What the attacker will do is he will change that IP address. For that particular organization's domain name, he will change its IP address. He may give some other IP address which may be of a fake site. Okay. So when the normal user tries to access that organization's website, what happens is a normal user is trying to access a organization website. He or she is giving some domain name, www. That organization name. It will come to the DNS server and check, and corresponding IP will be taken from that. But what happens? The IP is changed by the attacker, and this user will be redirected to some fake website instead of the legitimate site. He has given the domain name of a particular organization and she is trying to access this legitimate site. But what happens is, since the DNS server is settings has been changed, when she is giving a domain name, that means www. That organization's address is given, that IP address is changed, means he will be redirected to a fake website. That is DNS server hijacking. Then you have another attack, that is man in the middle or sniffing attack. I hope that is already taken for you, isn't it? Sniffing. That means when the normal user tries to access a website, a user is trying to access a website. At that time, an attacker will sniff in the middle. He will try to get the session IDs, steal the session IDs of the user with the server, and using that stolen credentials, the attacker will try to access the site. I will tell once more. The normal user is visiting a website. That is a normal traffic. But in that traffic, what the attacker will do is he try to intrude or intercept in that traffic and try to get the session IDs of the user. And using that, he will give the request to the server, and the server will give the response back. Okay, in that case, what happens is whenever this user gives a request to the server, he will play in the middle. The attacker will play in the middle, and the request will be, the user's request will be given by the attacker to the server, and server's response will be first given to the attacker, and the attacker will forward that response to the user. So the user giving the request to the server, but that request is first given to the attacker. He will be replaying that request. The response the server will give, which will be first taken by the attacker, and he will then forward that to the user. That means he is in the middle. That is man in the middle attack. Then another attack is phishing attacks. That also, I think you have seen yesterday. Phishing attack. If this is the victim person and this is the attacker person, a victim and attacker, the web server here. So the attacker, what he do is, he will send a malicious link through email to the victim. A malicious link is sent to the victim through email. So when he gets the email, he may click that link. He may click that link. At that time, say maybe yesterday you have seen some examples, isn't it? So by clicking that link, he or she may give her credentials like login details, username, password, etc. So that is a malicious link. So what happens is when she gives this username, password, etc., that will be given to the attacker. The attacker gets those credentials, and the attacker will log into the web server with those credentials. Means he is impersonating as the victim. He gave a malicious link to the victim. Victim gives her credentials, which is stolen by the attacker, and using those credentials, the attacker will access the server, and the server will think that this is the victim person, not the attacker, because he has impersonated himself. That is phishing attack. Then we have another HTTP response splitting attack. HTTP response splitting. You all know we are using HTTP protocol, isn't it? HTTP protocol is used in internet. It's a protocol. So see, if there is a website, you are accessing a website, and there is a particular text field to enter some field, say the name. Your normal input will be JSON. So some name, you are giving a name. Say, for example, it is JSON. So in that text field, you as a user has entered JSON. And the server will give back a response, a request and response. You hope everyone knows that when a client gives some information to the server, that is known as request, And when the server gives back some information, that is known as a response. Okay, client to server is request and server to client is known as response. So this is the request given to the server. He has given an input JSON and he will get back a response. In that response, there is some header information. That means in every HTTP response, there will be a header and a body part. That means the normal, see, if you are logging into a website, what are the inputs you are giving when you log into a particular site? What are the input you are giving? In the text field, you will give the username and the password. They are the input. They are the request given to the server. Okay. And as response, what you will get, username and password is correct, you will go into another page. That web page is your response, isn't it? If you are logging into Gmail, in the Gmail, you are giving username and password. That is the request data. And if the username and password is correct, you will get the mail content page, isn't it? That is the response you are getting. So for every response, there will be a header and a body. The header part is like this. This is the header part, some information about the response. That means which protocol, what is the status of the response, somewhat if there are some cookies, that all these details will be in the header, and then comes the body of the response. Okay. So what is response splitting attack is, instead of giving like this, the attacker will give such a type of input. In the text field, instead of giving JSON, what he has given, included in his request. In his request itself, he is creating some response like this using HTTP 200 OK, new line. Again, he will write some set cookie, etc. Okay, so that means he creates response. The attacker is creating the response also. He is giving the input, JSON the hacker, along with it, he is including some characters and creating a response. Okay, due to this, the response will be splitted. That means two responses will be created. Only one response for one request, isn't it? So that means if you just give JSON, this will be your response, HTTP 200. But what he is doing is, he will create HTTP 200 OK, some again new line, he will again create some HTTP 200 OK. In that way, two responses may be created. Okay, so here what happens is, this is the attacker, he is sending a request, which is a malicious request, which is creating two responses. So for every request, only one response is sent back. So the attacker has given the first request. To that request, one response is sent back. Who has created that response? The attacker himself has created. In the request itself, he has included the response. Two responses he has created. First response he has got. The second response will be awaiting in the server. That will be in the server. Now a normal user will give a request to the server. A normal user is giving a request. For that also, there will be a response. What happens? Already there is a request created by the attacker in the server, which will be given back to the user. I'll show you one thing. We think that this is your web server. Okay, this is your web server. This is the attacker. He is first sending a malicious request. Okay. Creates two responses. He is creating the response also. He is creating two responses, where first response will be sent back to the attacker himself. The second response is within the server, and when a normal gives a request to the server, the response created by the attacker, the second response created by the hacker will be given to the user. not the intended response of the user. He is getting a response which was created by the attacker. And the response for this particular request, there is a request given by the normal user, isn't it? That is awaiting in. So the attacker, what he will do, he will send another request to the server, and as response, he will get the response normally intended for user 1. He created two responses. First response he is getting back. Second response was given back to the user 1, which is not the response correctly intended for user 1. And the user 1's response based on this request will be given to the hacker when he gives the second request. That is HTTP response splitting attack. That means whatever the user is intended, he is not getting the response. It's a response hacker. That is HTTP response splitting attack. Okay. I hope it's clear for you. എന്തെങ്കിലും ഡൗട്ട് ഉണ്ടോ? Okay. Then comes web application attack. In web application, there are multiple ways the attack may happen to an application, the web application. Okay, that is one is parameter tampering. Parameter tampering means in the URL, say where you are giving the URL, some URL here in the browser, you will give some URL. In the URL or in a form, when the user enters the data, that data may be changed without user's authorization. Without user's authorization, the data entered by the user may be changed. That is the parameter tampering attack. Another one is cookie tampering. What is cookie? What is cookie? Whenever you give a request to the server will give you a response back. Along with it, a cookie will also be sent. Means like you enter into Gmail, you are entering username, password. Okay, you are entering username, password, etc. So you have logged into the Gmail. Means your mail content is visible to you. That means that's the response given back by the server. Okay. Response given back by the server. See, if this is my Gmail account, I've given my username and password. When you give that username and password, that is the request given to the server. And you got a web page back. This is the response you get from the server. This is the response you got from the server. Okay. At that time, when you get the response, a session ID is also, or a session ID and means a cookie is sent by the server. From the server to you, that is the client. To the client, and information is being sent to the client. That is a cookie which is stored in the client. In the client machine, it is stored. Okay. Now, I am not logging out. I'm just closing it. I'm not logging out. And again, I'm taking Gmail. You are getting directly the page, isn't it? Because there was a cookie in your machine, client machine. When you again give Gmail, that means a request to the server, that cookie data is also sent back to the server. And what is stored in the cookie? Your information. So from there, the server is giving back the same page. Means cookie means which is some information which is sent from the server to the client. What all things you do, that will be stored in that cookie. So whenever you give the request back to the server, along with the request, this this cookie information will also be sent to the server. From there, the server identifies the particular person and you are getting this page. Okay. Then you have SQL injection. SQL injection means to the web application, you can pass some values so that the SQL, database, isn't it? Database queries are there. Database, you may be accessing the database and getting some data in the web application. So that queries, you may pass some data, improper data, and get lot of information from that. That is SQL injection. See, in a login form, you are giving a username and a password. Okay. When you give the username and password, internally in the web application, a SQL query is being that particular table where it will check where username is equal to whatever username you have given, that will be checked. If I am giving admin or something like that. So if my username was admin and if my password is ABC, so this there will be checking whether username entered was admin and password entered is ABC. And if that exists in the database only, you will go into the next page. Okay. But SQL injection means instead of giving admin ABC, instead of giving admin as username and instead of giving ABC as password, what the attacker will give is admin codes 2 hyphens. Okay, admin, it's a code and 2 hyphen and password, any password, ABC or something like that. Because normally in every website, we know that there may be someone who is admin. Normally username may be admin, but you may not know the password. Okay. So what he do is he want to enter into the site. The attacker want to enter into the site and as admin, but he doesn't know the password. So what he do is he is giving admin codes two hyphens. Okay, so what is your query now? Your query will be select star from login where username is equal to, instead of admin, what he have given, admin single quote 2 hyphens, and your single quotes is ending here and password is equal to ABC. But why he has given us that in SQL, this is taken as comment. Comment means the remaining part will not be taken by the SQL query. That means this much part is omitted. What the query is only checking whether username is admin. Only he is checking, the web application is checking only username, not password, because this part is commented. It is not taken. Okay. So instead of giving admin and the correct password, what will the attacker do? He will include some characters and try to get into the system. That is SQL injection. You can change why this happens, because it is not checking the correct way. It is not checking whether it is having some additional characters and all. You can check in your application whether these characters are there, etc. Okay. That way you can avoid that. So this is SQL injection. So this is another way in which attack may happen. Okay. So these are the different attacks which happens on the web server. Okay, I think you have a doubt on response splitting, isn't it? Someone has doubt regarding response splitting. See, I told you that like this, what I am giving here. Yeah, I told you instead of giving admin, I am giving admin quotes 2 hyphens, isn't it? Similar to that, in HTTP response splitting, normally the text field, he should give a name, like a name, say JSON. This is a name. He is including some carriage return line feed characters. That means \n. Then he will give HTTP, that status code 200. Again, in the next line, there is a header format. That's the next line, you will have some other header. So for that, again, he will create some line feed characters, and he will write content type, and he will give the response, whatever response he is intended to, content type. Some malicious information, some information, etc. Okay. Again, he will try to include one more response, like HTTP colon 200. In this way, more than one response he will generate in the request itself. So the server will consider that this one is the first response and this part is as the second response. He will take this as a second response. Here's some malicious information. So the first response will be given to the attacker itself, this information, and the second one will be given to the normal user who gives the next request. This will be in the server, and this malicious information will be given. Instead of just giving JSON, he is giving this much as input. Okay. Okay, next is attack methodology. So before attacking a server, you all must have already seen the different steps. What is the first step before attacking? The first step is, first we have to gather information where we are going to attack, where we are going to hack. First we have to gather that information. Then the web server footprinting, getting more details about the server. Then mirroring website. You can take a copy of that website and go through that web pages and see the vulnerabilities. Then vulnerability scanning. What all vulnerabilities are there in the server? What is a vulnerability? It is the weakness. It is a weakness. What all weaknesses are there in a web server that we have to scan? Okay. Then you have session hijacking and hacking the web server passwords. This is the attack methodology. So first one is information gathering. Information gathering, you have two types of information gathering, passive and active. Passive means just getting details without touching the target, means you can get the information from who is. Have you all checked it? Who is site? You can gather information, or from Facebook, from social media websites and all. You can gather information of the particular server which you want to gather the information. That is passive, just not touching it at all. You are gathering information. Okay. Then comes active information gathering, where you are running port scans, footprinting, OS, etc. That is two types of information gathering. Then you have web server footprinting. So before attacking a server, what will the attacker do? First, he will check what is the type of the which type of web server is being used, what is the version, etc. If you know the web server and its version, he can find what all vulnerabilities are there in that server and all. So first he will check which web server is being used and what is the version, etc. So for knowing that, we have different tools for web server footprinting: IDserve, HTTP Recon, and Netcraft. So I'm going to show you one tool, that is HTTP Recon. HTTP Recon is a web server footprinting tool. Okay. You have to run it as administrator. See here, you can give which server you want to know, about which server you want to know. You can give its domain name or IP here. Okay. Whichever server you want to analyze, that you have to give here and click analyze. See, this is I told you about that header, HTTP header. This is the response header. What will you get? Okay. Now, these are the different web servers available. And what you got as 100% match, Apache 2.0. So that means that particular web server 2.0 version. Or you can give something else. eBay.com. Now it's Apache 1.3 version. 1.3. That is the server being used for eBay.com. Another website, MarketWatch. What is it giving? It is giving Microsoft IIS is the server. Okay. So such tools, HTTP Recon or Netcraft, using these tools, you can know which server is being used and what is its version. Now, based on that, you can check what all vulnerabilities may happen on it, etc. That is the footprinting tool. Web server footprinting. Okay. So there you can use HTTP Recon. Then mirroring a website. Have you used this tool, HTTrack? Can someone respond? The HTTrack is a tool for taking a copy of the web application. To take a copy of the web application, you can take the copy of the web application using this tool, and you can go through the web pages later. Okay, it will copy the entire web application, all the pages you can take, and later you can go through every page and see what all vulnerabilities maybe they're giving different inputs like this. You can give different inputs and see what all vulnerabilities may happen on that. Okay, that is mirroring a website. You're taking a copy of the website and Later on, you can go through those pages and check the details. That is mirroring a website. Then the next one is vulnerability scanning. I told you vulnerability means weaknesses, isn't it? What is the weakness of a server? That is what we are going to check the next one. So we have found the which web server is being used. You can check which web server is being used through HTTP recon tool and all. You can check which web server is being used. Now you want to find what all vulnerabilities are there in the server. That is the next. Which vulnerabilities are available in that server? For that, one open source tool is Nikto. Nikto is available in Kali Linux. It's an open source tool which is used to find the weaknesses in a particular machine. Okay. Now, to show you a demo on web server hacking, okay, in the virtual box, I have Kali Linux. One virtual machine is Kali Linux. And to show you how to attack a web server, I have, as I am working from home, I cannot set up a server here. So I have created a virtual machine that is shown as here, CVE. It's a virtual machine which is having, it's an ISO file of a particular web server which is vulnerable. Okay, it's a vulnerable server which is given it is in a virtual machine, not in another machine. I am going to show it in this one. So Kali Linux, from Kali Linux, this is the server which I have given as a virtual machine, which is vulnerable. Okay, this is a vulnerable web server, which I am just starting it. It's a vulnerable server. Okay. Uh, can you see this? Here, this particular web server, its IP address is 192.168.1.6. Okay. This web server I'm going to hack, which is a vulnerable one, which is an Apache web server, which is having a vulnerability shell shock. Okay. So its IP address is 192.168.1.6. Okay. Now from here, I'm starting Kali Linux, which is another virtual machine. It's a bit slow. Now this is my Kali. Its IP address is 192.168.1.8. Okay, this is my Kali IP. So I have vulnerable machine, and this is my Kali machine from where I am going to attack. Okay. So before attacking, I told you I should know about the server, its vulnerability. Okay. So for checking the vulnerabilities in Kali Linux, you have the tool in applications, in vulnerability analysis, you have a tool Nikto. Nikto is a tool for vulnerability analysis. So here, what I have to do is this is the command Nikto -h then what you have to give which server you want to scan for the vulnerability. So my vulnerable server's IP was 192.168.1.6. This was my web server's IP address. Vulnerable web server's IP address, which I shown you as CVE. I told you this one is my vulnerable web server whose IP was 192.168.1.6 in the server. Okay. So for that, I have used the Nikto tool, Nikto-H 192.168.1.6. So what it is showing? It is showing which server is being used. Apache 2.2. That is the server being used. Now, what all problems are there? That is also given. Some XXS protection header is not defined, etc. See, here you can see some OSVDB. OSVDB means open source vulnerability database. In that open source vulnerability databases, all the vulnerabilities are listed. Among them, we have three OSVDBs here. One is HTTP trace method is active, suggesting the host is vulnerable to XST, that is cross-site scripting. It is vulnerable to cross-site scripting. And two other vulnerabilities, that is CGI bin status, site appears vulnerable to shell shock vulnerability. So in this way, you can know what all vulnerabilities are present in a server using Nikto tool. You have to give Nikto-H and the server's IP. So it will show you what all vulnerabilities are present. Here it is shown shell shock vulnerability. Okay, shell shock vulnerability, and along with it, it is showing one CVE. Can you see CVE 2014-6271 found? What is CVE? CVE is common vulnerability exposure. If I give CVE, you can search it in CVE list. So it is having all the common vulnerabilities and exposures in this site, CVE. There you can search this particular number, search CVE list. In CVE, you have search CVE list where you can give this particular number, CVE 2014 6271, which you got from the vulnerability scanner. So it will show you details regarding some vulnerability 6271. See, this one is 6271. See, this allows a remote attack crafted environment by vectors in 1 minute. Okay. This is a vulnerability in shell shock vulnerability, which is affecting the bash shell. You know what is bash? Bash is a shell in Linux, isn't it? It's a shell for executing commands. The command line interface in Linux, that is bash shell. So this shell shock is a vulnerability which is affecting the bash shell through HTTP request or CGI scripts. Through these two ways, it is affecting the bash shell. Bash is a shell in the Linux. Okay, so it is a vulnerability which is affecting the bash shell, Apache server, bash shell. This vulnerability is affecting, and it is attacked through two ways. One is through HTTP request and another is through CGI scripts. CGI scripts. CGI scripts means in the web application for dynamic conductivity, we have CGI scripts. Okay, so they are stored in this particular. See, I shown you in Nikto. In Nikto, you can see this path, isn't it? CGI-bin status. So this is the path where the CGI scripts are stored. So it is a vulnerability affecting the bash shell of the Apache web server, and it is that attack happens through this particular path, CGI script path. Okay. So whenever you get some vulnerabilities, you have to go in detail through that vulnerability. You have to study in detail about that vulnerability and see some ways to attack it. Okay, so in that way you can, here I am saying that you have to go through it. For every vulnerability there are different ways. Okay, so in shell shock vulnerability, it is affecting the bash shell through CGI script. So this is the path through which attack may happen. Okay. Now, so we can find the weaknesses using Nikto2. Now, session hacking web passwords. After hacking, I will show you that how to hack the web password. So now, how to attack the web server? The main attack tool is Metasploit. One of the most important attack tool is Metasploit, which is a penetration testing toolkit. What is penetration testing? For what we are doing this hacking to find, we are not going, we are doing efficient hacking, okay, not hacking into some other system. We are doing hacking to find the vulnerabilities of our machine and to how to patch it. That is what we are using, for what we are using ethical hacking. Okay, so in Metasploit, it is a penetration testing toolkit which contains a lot of exploits. What is an exploit? See, just think about a thief who is intruding into a house. Okay, a thief is going to intrude into a house. Okay, so first what he will do, he will find the weaknesses in the house, whether some windows or doors are open or whether some grills are there so that he can cut it and get in, isn't it? So they are the vulnerability. So before entering, first he will find some vulnerability. That is vulnerability. Then what the thief will do, if there is a grill or something, he will use some axe or something to cut it, and some way he will enter into the house, isn't it? That is known as exploit. First, he will find the vulnerability, then he will use some tool to attack it, that is exploit. And after entering into the house, what he will do? He will sometimes pack all the valuables and go, or sometimes he may attack some persons, isn't it? So that is the known as payload. So three things are there. One is vulnerability, that is the weakness. Then comes exploit, that means the attack tool, using what you are going to attack. And the third one is payload. After exploiting or after entering into the system, what you are going to do, that is payload. So this Metasploit is a penetration testing toolkit which contains a lot of exploits, payloads, etc. in it. Okay. So in Kali Linux, again in applications, in exploitation tools, you have Metasploit. Okay, Metasploit. Okay. Metasploit has been started. It is showing how many exploits are there, how many payloads are there in this Metasploit penetration testing toolkit. Okay. Now here, I want to attack a machine. I have found the vulnerability, isn't it? So to exploit, there are a lot of exploits here. So how will I find my correct exploit, which is for this particular vulnerability? For that, you can use search. Okay, I have a vulnerability exposure number which I got it from where? From my Nikto tool. See, from Nikto I got a CVE number, isn't it? That is what you have to give here. You will give search CVE 2014 6271. If I give like that, the matching exploits will be shown there. Okay, nearly matching exploits you can see from there. So these are the matching exploits. Matching modules. This is the exploit name, its ranking, its description, etc. is given here. Okay. And I told you among these exploits, again, I want to find the correct one. I told you that the shell shock vulnerability is affected through CGI scripts. See, among these, which are the CGI script description it is given, Apache mode CGI bash environment variable. You have two among them. This first one and sixth one. Both are Apache mode CGI bash environment exploit, isn't it? Among them, which is the ranking excellent? This one is ranking excellent. Okay. So I am going to use this particular exploit. This is how you will find. If some other vulnerable web servers you have to find its CVE number. Based on that, you will get. Then go into the details of that vulnerability and find the correct matching. So here my matching one, which is excellent one, I have taken this one. Okay, this is my exploit. That means the attack tool, which I have just copied it. And what I am going to do is, I am going to use that exploit. Okay, I am going to use that exploit. This is the command you will give, use that exploit name. Okay. Okay. Now you have to see some options for that. For that, you have to just give show options. You have set the exploit name, then give show options. which will show what all options you have to set for using this exploit. Among them, which are the required field, which are the non-required fields, everything is required fields and non-required fields is given here. Okay. So already the CV identifier is set. Okay. Then someone asks, no, there is no need for setting. What is the required one here? Our host is required, which is not set here. Our host, then you have to set another required field is target URI, which is given yes. Can you see that? Target URI and our host are the required fields which I want to set now. Someone's mic is on, okay? So our host and target URI you have to set because all other required fields is already set. Okay. Now what is target URI and all? I will say. So for setting this, set our host field you want to set. Our host means to which machine you are going to give the attack. The attack means the target machine. The target machine's IP you have to give here. Which machine I am going to attack? 192.168.1.6 is my target machine where I am going to attack. That is set as our host. Then you have to set one more thing. Set lhost. Lhost means from where you are going to attack? From this Kali machine. So what is that Kali machine's IP? That is what is set here. From which machine are you going to attack? What was it? I think it is 1.8. Okay. Kali machine's IP is 8. So what all things I have done here? First I have said which exploit. How did I find the exploit? Using search CVE. I got a list of exploits. From there, from the description, I found mode CGI. I got 2 exploits. From among them, the ranking excellent one, I chose it. Okay, this one. Then I told use that exploit. After telling use, when the prompt comes like this, you have to give the options, show options. So it will show what all things we have to set, which are the required fields and which are the non-required fields. Among them, the required fields, something all are set. Okay. So which is the required field which I want to set is rhost and target URI. So rhost means the target machine where you are going to attack. Lhost means from where you are attacking your Kali machine's IP. Then you have to set target URI. Target URI. What was given there? Target URI. Can you see that? Path to CGI script. In rhost, what is it written? Rhost, the target address range, and target URI means path to CGI script. What is the path to CGI script? That also you got from Nikto. What was the target script? This was the target path, the path to the CGI script. This was that path to the CGI script. That you are giving as target URI. So what all things I have said? rhost, the target machine, the local host machine from and the target URI. That means path to the CGI script. Whichever is the path to the CGI script is given. Now one more thing you have to set. I told you that vulnerability is the weakness. Exploit means the tool using which you are attacking, that we have selected. Now one more thing is there, that is payload. After exploiting, what you are going to do, that is payload. So you have to use a payload also. Okay, so we have find the exploit here, isn't it? You have used that exploit. So the matching payloads, you can see the matching payloads for this can be seen by showing a command show payloads. Show payloads will show you the matching payloads for this particular exploit. Where you have given this, 1 minute. So here you have set the exploit. I will tell once more, use the exploit. So in that exploit, what all things we have to set? The host, the host and target URI. And one more thing you have to set, that is a payload. So to see the matching payloads for this particular exploit, you have to give show payloads. Okay, so for any attacking machine, you have to give like this, in this way. So these are the matching payloads. From this, again, I have to find whichever is the matching payload. So to which machine I'm going to attack? I'm going to attack a Linux machine, isn't it? Apache web server machine. So it's some Linux machine, Linux x86 machine I'm going to attack. So I will use such a payload, not a generic Linux x86. In Linux x86, again you have Metapreter, shell, etc. Isn't it? Among them, I am choosing a Metapreter because it is the advanced payload. Advanced payload means a lot of options are there in this Metapreter. So I am using Linux x86 Metapreter. Okay. Now among them, again there are some others, isn't it? Now, I will tell one thing. There are two types of shells. That is, one is bind and another is reverse. Two types of shells are there, bind and reverse. Okay, see this. This is your attacker machine and this is your target machine having vulnerability. Okay, so there are two types of shells. One is bind and another is reverse. Bind means, if you are using bind means, it will open a new service in the target machine. It will open a new service in the target machine. The attacker has to connect to it, connect to the service to gain the shell of this machine. You can gain the shell of the target machine by opening up a new service in the target machine. But if you are using bind, I will tell once more, if you are using bind in the target machine which is vulnerable, a new service will be opened up and the attacker machine has to connect to it to gain access to this shell. Okay. Now, if you are using reverse, reverse means, if you are using reverse shell means, the attacker machine will set up a listener. Not in the target machine, the attacker machine will set up a listener and the target machine has to connect to it. The target machine has to connect to it and it will give the shell to the attacker. That is reverse, connect back. This is connect back. Here it is here it is connect. ഇവിടെ എങ്ങനെയാണ് അറ്റാക്കർ അങ്ങോട്ട് കണക്ട് ചെയ്യണം ഒരു സർവീസ് ഇവിടെ പുതിയതായിട്ട് ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട് അവിടേക്ക് ദ അറ്റാക്കർ മെഷീൻ ഇസ് കണക്റ്റഡ് ഓക്കെ ഹിയർ എങ്ങനെയാണ് ഇവിടെ എങ്ങനെയാണ് അറ്റാക്കർ മെഷീൻ ഹാസ് എ ലിസണർ ആൻഡ് ദ ടാർഗറ്റ് മെഷീൻ ഹാസ് ടു കണക്ട് ടു ഇറ്റ് കണക്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ട് ഇതിന്റെ ഷെല്ല് അതിന് കൊടുക്കും അറ്റാക്കറിന് കിട്ടും ഓക്കെ രണ്ടായാലും ഷെൽ അങ്ങോട്ട് കിട്ടുകയാണ് യു ക്യാൻ യൂസ് ഐദർ ബൈൻഡ് ഓർ റിവേഴ്സ് ബോത്ത് മെത്തേഡ്സ് യു ക്യാൻ യൂസ് ഐദർ ബൈൻഡ് ഓർ റിവേഴ്സ് Okay, so here among all this payloads, I told you about Linux x86. Why I am using Metapreter? Because it is an advanced payload. Then you have reverse TCP and bind TCP. That is what I told you now. Either you can use bind shell, which opens up a new service in the target machine, or you can use reverse TCP, which set up a listener in the Kali machine, and from the target machine, it should connect and get the shell. Okay, so I am going to use this one. So the next one I am setting is payload. Set payload. So that is also set. So after finding the vulnerabilities, what did you do? Using that vulnerability number, you have searched the Metasploit, from where you got some exploits. From there, you got two matching. From that, I chose the excellent one and I told use that exploit. So this prompt came. There I have given show options to see what all things I have to set. From there, the two important required fields were rhost and target URI. So I've given 4 settings. One is rhost. Rhost is the target machine where I am going to attack. Lhost is from where I am attacking the Kali machine's IP, and through which path I have to attack. That is the CGI script path which I got in the Nikto. And I have to set one more thing after exploiting which payload to be used. So after using the exploit, if you use show payloads, the matching payloads will be shown. Among them, since I am going to attack a Linux x86 machine, I have given Linux x86. And Metapreter I have chosen because it is some advanced payload. And there I can either use bind TCP or reverse TCP. Anything you can use, okay? Either set up a listener here or open up a new service there. So here I have used reverse TCP. Okay, set payload. Linux x86 Metapreter. After setting all this, give exploit command. Exploit. So means it is setting up a listener here and you got the session opened. Metapreter session opened. I'm just giving sysinfo, system info. What I'm getting? What is the systems info? That particular machines. That means I have entered into that target machine. After exploiting, I have entered into that target machine. Now I can get the information from that server. Get UID. Get UID means current user ID. I have entered it as user ID 1000. Also, you can give help, which show all the commands which we can use in this Metapreter. Metapreter endakka commands namukku ivida kodukamo aa commands ellam help kodutha kaanam. Endakka commands namukku ivida use cheyam ennallathu. See cat endana ipo njan nikkunna edu shellilana? I am in which machine? I am in the web server. Njan adinathekku exploit cheyidu keri kazhinju. So I can read the contents of the file. Oro contents aayittu enikku read cheyam. I can download a file. ഇതൊക്കെ എനിക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. Make directory, അതിനകത്തൊരു directory create ചെയ്യാം. Okay, So all these commands I can execute here. I want to present working directory. I want to see where I am standing now. Present working directory. What did you get? You got CGI-bin. Why? Your target URI was CGI-bin, because through that path you got or entered into that particular machine. So that is your present working directory. Now you can change the directory to some other. I'm going to var www. That is where all the web applications will be stored. You can list all the files in www. What all things are there? CGI-bin, index.html, site1.com, all are listed in www. Is it clear? Okay.
Yes.
This way you can go to any path. Now, one more thing. See, I told you that I was accessing 192.168, 1. In www, I showed you on site1.com. That's a web application which I have created. Okay, site1.com slash site1.com. See, this is a site inside that web server. Okay. CD, I'm again changing to site1.com. I can see the files in that. If I give, I can see the files, which all files are there. Here currently I have only index.html. Okay. Now, if I want to get the shell, I want to enter into the shell of that server, I can enter into it. Shell is created. Now you can execute all the commands in a shell. I can move on to cd/etc. I can list all the files in it. What all files are there in etc, password file, shadow file, etc. Isn't it? All those are there. Now, if you want to add a user, a new user to this particular machine, add user, you can give a name. XYZ, add user. But what happened? Permission is denied. You have to become a super user. Normal user, you have entered as 1000, isn't it? As a normal user, you have entered. See, you can see get UID here. It was 1000. It's a normal user. So what you have to do if you want to add a user and all, you have to become the super user. For that, I have to give sudo -s. So you become the super user, and then you can add new users. You have to set a password. I'm setting password XYZ itself. One more time, I'm retyping the password. So if a new user is there, I can see him in password file. Cat password. So what all users are there in password? Root, LP, nobody, TC, Pentester Lab, and the new user which I have created, XYZ. a new user. The attacker has created this user. Okay. If you want to change the password of an existing user, you can change the password also. For changing the password, you are using password. Which user's password if you are going to change? Say, and changing the password of nobody. Nobody, I can give a new password there. New password I can set. Password, the username, whose password you are going to change, and the new password you can set.
Oh, ചോളിപ്പിച്ചു തരാം. ഇവിടെ വെച്ചേരാം, ഞാൻ നോക്കിക്കോളാം.
Okay.
Yes.
So the attacker has changed the password of a particular user so that when the user enter into the system, he will not be able to because his password is changed. Okay. In that way you can do everything. Now, if I want to download a file, download it's a command in Metapreta. I cannot do it in from the shell. Now I have entered into the shell. Okay. So from there I cannot get into Metapreta. So I am exiting the shell. I'm terminating the channel. I'm again in Metapreta. I want to see the present working directory. I am at site1.com. Site1 illalla evidana password files ulladu in etc. Okay. So I'm going to cd/etc.
എന്റെ സോക്സിന് ഏത് കാലത്ത് ഉണ്ട്?
I can download the file password. It is downloaded. Where can you see this downloaded files? From Kali you have done this. So in your Kali you can have to take the home directory.
എവിടെ നിന്ന് വാങ്ങിക്കാൻ
This is the
ഞാൻ?
home directory where you have this password from. Okay.
പാലിച്ച്. ഇന്ന് മിക്കവാറും ഇവിടെ 2000-3000 ഒക്കെ കയറും.
Okay. Any doubts? Is it clear how to
ആ പട്ടികള്. അത് തുറക്കാൻ വയ്യവന്മാർക്ക്.
how to
ഞാൻ അവിടെ
enter into the web server? Is it clear?
One doubt.
Yes. Please ask.
ഹൈജാക്കിന്റെ ആരൊന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു തരുമോ?
ഏതാ?
ഹൈജാക്കിങ്.
അയ്യോ അത് എന്റെ പൈസ. പൈസ എന്റെ അക്കൗണ്ടിൽ ആലോചിച്ചപ്പോഴാണ് മനസ്സിലായി. അയ്യോ ഇങ്ങനെ എന്റെ നാലെടുത്ത് പോട്ടെ.
Please turn off the mic.
ഞാൻ കഷ്ടപ്പെട്ട് കളിച്ചുണ്ടാക്കി എന്റെ പൈസ.
Which hijacking you need? I didn't get you.
നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞില്ലേ?
ഏതാണ്? ഇതിന്റെ ആണോ? ഇപ്പൊ പറഞ്ഞോണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നതാണോ? മെറ്റസ്പ്ലോയിറ്റ് ആണോ?
DNS സെർവർ ഹൈജാക്ക്.
DNS സെർവർ ഹൈജാക്കിംഗ്.
അതെ അതെ.
Okay.
The
DNS server hijacking you need, isn't it? Okay, one thing I will do, I will explain in the last, okay? After completing
Yes.
this, I can explain, okay?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So these are the ways to exploit a system. First, you have to find the vulnerabilities. You have to find the vulnerabilities using which tool you can find? Using Nikto, okay?
Yes.
Using Nikto, you can find the vulnerabilities, and after finding the vulnerabilities, you will get some database OSVDB or some CV you will get. Based on that, you have to search, and after searching, you can use the Metasploit attack tool where you can search the exploit You can search the exploit and you will get some exploits. From there, you have to find the correct description one based on your vulnerability that
Yes.
you have to use, and then you have to set the rhost, target machine, lhost, and the target URI, the path, and the payloads you have to specify, which payload to be executed. And after that, you have to give the exploit command so that the reverse TCP handler is on and you have entered into the target machine. Okay.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now the next is how to safeguard your web server. That is, you have to place the web server in a particular demilitarized zone. That means every organization will have, the organization will access internet also. So the web server should be placed in a demilitarized zone between the internet and the internal network. 2 firewalls also should be there. So in that way, the web server can be protected. And another countermeasure is you have to disable the serving of directory listing. Now you have seen that when I just say cd some directory, you are going to each directory and you can see the files, isn't it? So that you have to disable. Also, every time you have to access the log files, whether it is data server or OS logs, you have to check what all happens. When some intruder attacks, some log he will place there, isn't it? So you have to check what all changes happen. And the web application normally should be placed in a separate partition, not in the operating system or system file partition. You have to place the web application in a separate partition or drive other than the system file. That is one way for protecting the web application. Then you have a script, a running script, that is website change detection system. It's a script which runs on the server. Okay, what it does is it regularly checks the files, hash values of the files. What is hash value of a file? See, every file will have a hash value. Okay, every file will have a hash value. What this script is doing is it will check whether any modification has been done in the hash value. When is this hash value modified? Whenever you do modifications in a file, the hash value will change. So what this script is doing is it is checking whether some changes happened in the hash value. The older hash value it is storing. For each file, it is storing a hash value and is regularly checking whether that hash values are changed or not. Okay. And if there is some changes, it will alert the user. That is website change detection system. You can use this for checking whether some hacking is happening or not. Then you have another tool, URL scan. It's a tool which restricts the HTTP request. I told you that in request we can include some line feed characters or some SQL injection with hyphen, etc., isn't it? So that request can be filtered using this tool. URL scan is a tool which restricts the request. It screens all the incoming requests and tries to avoid SQL injection attacks. That is URL scan. Then another thing is always you have to use a dedicated machine for a web server. And this web server should be stored in a secure machine room. Physically, you have to protect a web server. Not only the web server should be, you have to, and web application will be stored in a web server. There will be a database also. That database server, you have to install it on a separate server. The web application on a separate and database, if it is possible, can be stored in a separate server. And do not allow anyone to locally log on to the machine except the administrator. This is how you defend the web server attack. Okay. You do not allow anyone to locally log on. And if in some web servers, multiple web applications may be hosted. If multiple web applications are there, for each web application, a separate user account should be there. Separate user account for each web application should be there in a web server. Now, another thing to protect, the most important thing to protect the web server is patch. What is a patch? A patch is a software to fix the problem. Now we have seen that in Apache web server, we have shell shock vulnerability. So whenever the vulnerabilities are present, the vendor will send some patches to fix those problems. So always we have to patch our system. Whenever new patches are coming, we have to use that to. Okay, and hotfix means it is Microsoft's version of patches is known as hotfix. Microsoft's version of patch is known as hotfix. A patch so software to fix the problem. Okay. Now, how is patch management done? First, we have to check what all patches. So some missing, what all missing patches are there. Then we have to access that issue and then download the patch. One more thing, don't download the patch directly to the machine. You have to install that patch on a testing machine. So for every vulnerability, some patches may be given. Okay, but first don't directly download that patches. You have to download that patch on a testing machine to verify the consequences. What are the consequences which happen when this patch is installed? And then only, after testing only, deploy that patch to the computers. And this is not a one-time process. You have to maintain this because always subscribe to get the notification. What all patches are coming, that you have to get the notification. So subscribe to it. So patch all this web server hacking. The main thing is you have to patch our system. Okay. How you can patch your system in two ways, either in manual way or in automatic way. Either you can get the patches download the patches from the vendor's website, or you can get auto update feature. Auto update feature to automatically install the patches. Okay. Now the web server security, these are the countermeasures which we have to do, and some security tools are also there. One is Victo. Victo is a scanner for Windows. The web server security scanner for Windows. It is checking some whether there are some directories or scripts which may be vulnerable. That is what it is checking. Victo tool is checking whether there are some directories, scripts, etc. are there through which attacks may happen. And Acunetics web vulnerability scanner, it is checking for SQL injections. If some requests are coming and may happen SQL injections, cross-site scripting, etc. The scanner is checking that. So these are two tools for security. Then we have what is penetration testing. For every organization, there should be a penetration tester. Then only the tester can safeguard the web server. How? Always verify the vulnerabilities. How can you check the vulnerabilities? By doing this ethical hacking. That means you have to hack the server. How? Through these tools, the Metasploit or using the attack tools, you can do different types of attacks. First, we have seen different types of attacks: HTTP response splitting, DNS server hijacking, etc. So different types of attacks when you do on the server, through which you will get different information, what all information is given to the hacker, that all can be identified and you can remedy. So that's what a penetration tester is doing. He will find the vulnerabilities and report it so that the organization can take a remedy. And a web server penetration testing tool is Core Impact Pro. Core Impact Pro is a penetration testing tool which is used for finding the vulnerabilities. Okay. So this is the module summary. What all things we have seen today? I have seen what is a web server, what all attacks may happen on the web server, methodology, the different attack tools, in which way you can attack, the countermeasures which you have to take, the security tools. Okay, so this is the module summary. Now, if you have any doubts, I will clear it. Somebody now has asked for DNS server hijacking, isn't it? DNS, who was that?
Yes.
Okay, DNS server hijacking. DNS server, did you understand what is DNS server? A domain name system server which contains all the domain names and its corresponding IP address. That is what is a DNS server is. Okay, domain name and its IP. In this DNS server, you have a database of the domain names and its corresponding IPs. The attacker is what he is doing is he is attacking the server and he will change the settings. That means for a particular organization's domain name, he will change its IP and he will set the IP of some fake site. Okay, so he has changed that setting. Now, when a user tries to access that organization website, the request will go to the DNS server and it will find its IP. Okay, but what happened is the IP is changed. So this particular victim will be redirected to a fake website instead of the legitimate site. Now, is it clear?
Yes.
So if you have any more, or you can send it to, or you can send it to this web address also. Okay, you can send it to the mail. If you have any doubts, you can send it to this address. Okay.
anyone of you have any questions regarding this session, you may please type your questions on the chat box. Also, the feedback form is shared in the chat box, so make sure that you fill it.
Okay.
Please feel free to ask questions.
Okay.
Any questions?
Okay, the application used for mirroring, that is HTTP track. The application used for mirroring a website is HTTP track, okay. Using this tool, you can take a copy of the website and you can go through the different web pages in the site and find the vulnerabilities.
Okay, ma'am.
Any other doubts? Uh, if you want to be a, it's not necessary to have a certificate for ethical hacking, but for say for if you want to be a ethical hacker in a particular organization and all, it may be required.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. We are grateful for the time and effort you took to share your thoughts and experiences, and I hope your class will definitely help all the participants to pursue their dream and achieve their dream job. Thank you, ma'am, for giving such a wonderful class. I would like to remind you to fill the feedback form. Also, I would like to thank our principal, Program Officer, Professor Manu V. Kumar, Program Associate, Professor Shruti G.S., Event Coordinators, Professor Khadra Safar, Professor Anupama Satyen, Staff Coordinators, Professor Simi Charlie, Professor Nimmi Kogila. Last but not least, I would like to thank you all for being here and all your support.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Before winding up, I would like to share an information. The NSS cell at University College of Engineering Karyavattam conducting state level Break the Chain 2020 of automatic hand sanitizers. Certificate will be provided to all the participants. Registration link is provided in the chat box. Once again, thank you all for making this event successful. Thank you all.
Thank you.